Purnamada Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Purnamada Purnamidam Purnata Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Purnamada Purnamidam Purnata Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate
Okay, we all want things to happen fast. Right? And we also want good things to happen. Right? And we also want it to happen cheap. We want things which are cheap, which are good, and they're fast. Who doesn't like it? Right? And we all want this combination. But the problem is that nature will give you only two at a time. Choose. Nature will give you only two at a time. What do you want? Fast? Good and cheap. Good and cheap. It will not be fast. This is how nature works. You cannot. We cannot force nature beyond this. This is how things are. Okay? If you want good things, it has to be either slow and cheap, or it has to be fast and expensive. We have no means, no other ways to do it. And if someone is promising you all three, they're cheating. That's the pure cheat. Okay? Never believe someone who tells you, I'm going to give you all three at the same time. So similarly, when doing anything with nature, with land, what we're trying to do here is to try to bring you to the position that when we have to manage things, we have to manage things as a whole. We cannot manage things only as a part. There are parts to a whole, but the whole is greater than the sum total of its parts. Always remember, the whole is greater than the sum total of its parts. So primarily, when we're talking about the whole, we have to understand the difference when we're talking about and how we're managing it. We have to manage a whole. A whole has parts. Every whole has a part. We are all wholes. I think you've all heard the Upanishadic, I think it's the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Purnamidam, Purnamada, Purnat Purnam Gacchate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnat Eva Vishishyate. So everything in this world is complete, Purna. But then other things, and there are bigger completes. So one is a whole, then we are part of a larger whole. And that is part of a larger whole. And that is part of a larger whole. So we are all wholes. We are all parts of greater and larger whole. So when we're not bothered about managing the whole, but when we're trying to manage only the parts, this is the problem that we start with. Let me give you this. Now the problem that we are trying to do is that we have different parts in nature. Nature has different parts. But when we're dealing with nature, the attitude that we have today, as Dr. Sri Kumar was mentioning, we have a reductionistic approach. Okay? Like for example, we have the environment. Okay? But this environment has several parts. Air, water, soil, and etc. etc. Now when we sing, we're trying to manage the air quality very nicely. We're trying to manage the water quality very nicely. We're trying to manage the soil quality very nicely. But if we try to manage each one of them separately, they cannot be managed. Because they are all interconnected. Not a single one is not connected. The oil is connected, the soil is connected with water. The soil is connected with your air. So if you want to only have a good ambient air quality without managing your soil quality, will it be possible? And if you're trying to manage your water quality without managing your soil quality, it'll fail. Somewhere we go wrong. And that is called the unintended consequences of a decision that we make. So when decision making is not holistic, when it doesn't take everything into account while we do anything, it is called reductionistic. So let's give you an example of what a holistic goal is. Like for example, a young boy, I don't know if you can do it here, but a young boy at a particular age wants a cycle, or a young girl, or wants a motorcycle, let's say. In India it's happening very often. You know, as they go to college, they all want scooters and motorcycles. So they want the scooter and the motorcycle, but the question is, why do you want it? Why does someone want a scooter or a motorcycle or a car?
Save time, energy,
Yeah, basically he's not, there may be a quarrel in the house. Why do you need a scooter? If you don't give me a thing, I will not do this, I will not do that. There's going to be a whole lot of tug of war in the family. But if we really actually analyze, what do we really want it for? For what kind of quality? Why is it for the improving the quality of your life that you need it?
Just to show off.
I need to show off. Yeah, it's a genuine need. You want to be a leader in your group. But then, will you be a leader simply because you have a vehicle with you? Do you become a leader of a group just because you own a vehicle? Do you think all your classmates will glorify you just because you have a vehicle? When do you think your classmates will all glorify you? When you have knowledge. That's what she says. So, we have to understand that people are not really understanding the quality of life is a different thing. But we are necessarily running for something else. So when we talk about holistic management, we are trying to manage the whole. And whole means why are farms all over the world failing? I'm talking particularly about farms because when farms fail, civilization fails. We fail. People fail. The civilizations have died because our soils have failed. And when soils have failed, civilizations have failed. So when we do not learn to manage all these things together, one after the other, then we see the consequence is that we have this destruction of a huge type, which no one knows how to manage. We are sitting on what you call epidemic or pandemic, diseases that are spreading around the world. We've seen what happens here. All of a sudden there is SARS, there is AIDS, there is this. It's havoc, it's Ebola. Every year we have something that breaks up and there's emergency all over the world. Why? Because the root cause is the quality of life is not being managed. We are not understanding the quality of life that we need. And that is the holistic goal that we need. We are here not to improve our bank balances. We may improve our bank balances, but is it going to give us a better quality of life? The money that we are going to earn is supposed to give us a better quality of life. Instead of working for the money, if we work for a better quality of life, then we get much better. We may end up getting huge bank balances, but we'll end up spoiling our families, relationships. We'll end up ruining the careers of our children. We'll end up, children not learning to live with nature. Disconnected from nature. Disconnected from their religion. Disconnected from their land. So basically, when you're talking about holistic management, we are talking about first and foremost, what is our holistic goal? So when we talk about the holistic management, we are talking about a holistic goal. I almost felt like a machine. So when we're talking about a holistic goal, so we will now write down. So a holistic goal. A holistic goal first has to be formed. When we're trying to first form a holistic goal, first we have to take into account who are decision makers. Normally, when we are taking a decision, we tend to become very exclusive in a decision-making process. Like, for example, in a family or on a farm or whatever, let's say we're taking a decision in the family, and the family consists of everyone in the family. But who takes the decision?
Head of the family.
Who takes the decision?
Head of the family.
Head of the family. Okay. So then, is it inclusive or is it exclusive? Exclusive. So then, I'll give you one example. We had in one place, we had decided, we were a small group in an ashram, they had decided that we were going to cook only organic food. Okay, so we only give organic food to everyone. It failed the very first day. Why? First, those who are the beneficiaries of that program. Who are the beneficiaries? The inmates in the ashram are supposed to be the beneficiary. They're supposed to eat it, right? They were not consulted. So when they were provided that food, they said, we don't like it. This is not what we want to eat. So he failed. Second, in the process of providing organic food today, who are the people who actually cook it? The cooks. They were not consulted. They were only told, you're supposed to cook this. Failed. So the decision makers were not inclusive. There's a difference between the people who decide and people who drive a decision process. Normally the decision-making process is driven by a small group of people. Okay, like for example, in a family you may have some elders or a few people driving the decision-making process. So first thing, decision makers, we have to distinguish between, we have to be inclusive. Okay, right? Inclusive means it has to include all the levels of decision makers. It has to include the beneficiaries, it has to include anyone who takes a decision, and even people who can veto it. They did not take a decision, but they can veto the decision. They have to be included in the decision-making process. I'll give you one example. We were laying in our farm a pipeline to give us water, to get water in the summers. And we all decided we were going to do it. We bought the whole thing, pipes, and we were about to lay. But then we did this. We actually did not consult, or we did not actually discuss it with the forest department, which holds about 2 kilometers of land between the two farms that we have. And they objected. They can veto it. They are not the part of the decision-making process, but they can veto it. So those who have a veto power should also be included in the decision-making process. So then, decision-making process becomes inclusive. So when we are taking a decision, if the beneficiaries are not consulted, anyone who's in the process of decision making is not included. Anyone who can actually veto the simple thing is also not included. Then the decision will fail. So this is how decision making processes are failing. Because we are becoming too exclusive in the decision-making process, even in a family. If you all sit down and discuss what is the quality of life you're looking for, even in a family level, then we will come up with a proper quality of life. And then everyone is included in the quality of life. So, and that quality of life is what is the holistic goal. We are not talking about goals. Sometimes the difference between holistic goals and the goals that you have normally in the corporate sectors and different things. In corporate sectors, normally we have goals like we need to increase the sales, we need to reach X amount of figures, we need to do this much, we need to bring down the expenses by this much. But it's not talking about the quality of life. Okay? In holistic goal-making, holistic management, the most important thing is to focus on the quality of life that you're looking for. Not money can only buy you certain commodities, but it is the quality of life that you have to focus on. Just like Dr. Shivakumar was mentioning, what is the quality of life? Why are you looking for milk? Why are we looking for milk?
Better health.
Yes.
So, what is the quality of life you're looking for?
Happiness.
Happiness. Okay? By making the cows suffer, do you think you'll get happiness? So, similarly, it has to be holistic. They are a part of our goal. if milk is a part of our home, or quality of life, then they also have to be a part of the whole decision-making process. By making them go miserable, do we think that we would be nice? By spoiling the land, do you think we could have a good quality of life? We're going to have good air quality just because I want good air quality. I may buy a bungalow or a house in one particular part of the city and make it very nice. But does it mean that I'm going to get the quality of life? No. So therefore, holistic decision making means talking about the quality of life. And the next point is, in the quality of life, what are the things that you need to produce to get that quality of life? What is it that you need to produce to get that quality of life? You say milk, okay. Food.
Trouble-free society.
Trouble-free society, exactly. That's what I was looking for. A trouble-free society. So, what do you need to produce? What are the things that you need? What are the products that you need to get that quality? Products we need to get the quality. Next point. It's under the quality of life. And from what resources will you produce to get those products? From what resources will you get those products? How do we get them? So the quality of life, we're talking about healthy life, good life, quality of life again. Let me ask you another question. Which insurance company is the best? We all will get old, right? We're all getting old. Isn't it? We all need insurances. Health insurances especially. Because of high rising cost of medical expenses. It's very expensive to get treated, isn't it? So we are all talking about different insurance policies and different, But what kind of old age is good? To be alone, left in a nice hospital, or to have a family together, to have all the children with us, caretakers with us, with good food, healthy environment, active till old age. Define those qualities of life that you want. Define those qualities of life that you want. And for that, what kind of things you need for that? What will give you that quality of life? And from what resources will you produce it? So when we start thinking in this manner, our whole goals, our whole approach to life becomes holistic. It's not just making the money, I want this much rupees in my bank, I want such a big house, 12,000 square feet house, and this. No, I need the quality of life. In my old age, what do I want to be? And we all will get old. What is the quality of life that you bring when you be old? I want to be with my friends and family. I want to be active in my old age. I don't want to be bedridden. I want to have good quality food which is going to keep me alive and active. Because if you take very good food, very highly nutritious food, as Dr. Shukran was mentioning, that the nutrient quality is going down. Just for 1 month, if you can find good quality food, okay, the best quality, just take it for 1 month. Continuously. You will see the level at which you operate. You will see the level at which you operate. I'm just talking about the food. Forget about the others. So when we're talking about that quality of life, then even in old age doesn't become a burden for you. You're still able to operate and be functional and active, excited, even into your old age. We were yesterday with Madam Evelyn, and we were seeing how excited she's all about her farm. Even in old age. I'm sure she doesn't like to be called old. But even till as the years go by, you don't feel discouraged by the whole thing. You're excited to do things. Excited about new things around. Whereas you do find a lot of people who just kind of close down. There's nothing else to do for them in their life. They just close down. So that is a quality of life we're talking. Today we hardly have even one generation living together. But which is more secure? Which is more supportive? 2, 3, 4 generations together. At least 3 generations are very supportive of one another. They support one another. It's such a great support system. So, coming back to the point is the quality of life and from what resources I will produce. Those resources have to remain in that way to continue to produce that quality of life. So, the holistic goal, the holistic decision making has to be inclusive. It has to include the quality of life that you're looking for. What are the products from what you will get that quality of life and from what resources will you get that? Now, once you have this written down very clearly, then comes the decision-making process. Okay? Now let me be very, very clear. In deciding what we want and why we want it, there are normally not many differences of opinion. Even in the family, right? When you're deciding anything, if you say what we want and why we want, there's not much of a. We normally come to a consensus. Yeah, this is what we want. We all agree we need good health, we need good food, isn't it? Right? We all want that. But if there is a difference of opinion, usually it is how. It is usually how. And now the problem is that we sometimes do not understand this and we end up fighting. Because we're not realizing that we actually what we are actually looking at is the difference of opinion is only at the level of how, not at the level of why and what. Okay? So, in this decision-making process, what needs to be tested, because the difference of opinion is at the level of how. So the decision how has to be tested. Testing, or what would you call it, the decision testing matrix, or the how testing matrix. You test your house. You may have 5 or 6, 7, 8 different opinions. Okay? I want a bike. This person says, I want a car. Someone says, no, let's get a bicycle. Okay? We all have different opinions. So when you have this kind of difference of opinion, what do? We need to test the house. And the first thing that we test the house with is, number 1, is it going to take us the opinion A, B, C, D, each opinion that is there, we can put them through a decision testing matrix. Before it becomes a decision, it is an opinion. Okay? So we test it first. Is it going to take us closer to our goal, our holistic goal, or the quality of life that we have defined together? All of us, we have sat down together and we define the quality of life we want. So is it going to take us closer to our
Goal.
quality or the holistic goal? Is it going to take us closer to it? Number one. Number two, we always take decisions, or we come up with, we're looking for solutions. Why? Because of three reasons. We do things because of three reasons. Or we go through a decision-making process because of three reasons. Either there's we need to fulfill a need, or we need to fulfill a desire, or to solve a problem. Okay? So the second point is we need to ask the cause and effect. Does it really answer the, or does it really solve the root cause of the problem? Does it really solve the root cause of the problem? Now let us take, I'll take an example again. The same thing that we went through in the ashram is that the management wants to give organic food to the inmates, and it failed. And they never attempted it again. So when we go through the question, and why did it fail? Until unless you start questioning, why did it fail? They say, no, they want to eat it. They say, we don't like it. Question is, ask again why. Ask the question why 5 times. It's like peeling up. Yesterday we were with Madam Albany, and she was giving us the ginger flower, right? And she was peeling it, layer after layer after layer. So similarly, also we need to peel our why. Find out the root cause. Are we addressing the root cause of the problem? Peel it 5 times, at least. At least still come to a situation where relation is not disrupted. Even though we are trying to reach the quality of life, we cannot disrupt the current situation on which everything else is currently running. The finances that are coming, other things that are coming, all the earnings that we have, the current lifestyle that we have. Okay. And anyway, before I forget, I forgot one point. In the quality of life that we're looking for, there are 2 things that we have to remember. The long-term quality of life, eventually in 20 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line, what is the quality of life we want? And also the short-term quality of life. Till we reach that quality of life, what is the short-term quality of life that we're looking for? So there is a short-term and a long-term. Short-term is because you have a very high quality of life that you're looking for. Does it mean that now you just sacrifice everything for that quality of life? No. Today also you need a quality of life. As long as you reach that. So that also has to be tested. This is a part. While testing, you test this also. So here it comes gross profit analysis comes there. When you actually testing at that. And then after we do the gross profit analysis, then what's the other ones? Gross profit analysis. Okay. The most important one. We are the questions over there. So one of our participants here said. So we had come out, we have farms, we have come to Singapore now, and we're really thinking of what can we do now. Okay. So I was telling him because whenever we want to take a decision, we are not alone. We have to take a decision together with the other family members. You just can't take a decision, you have to take a decision. So the decision-making process has to be inclusive. And while taking a decision, you have to decide. So we were talking with him too. Is that what is the quality of life you want? Today your parents are alone back in your hometown or village. Do you also want to be like this? Or do you want your grandchildren also to be with you? Now, with these resources and seeds, etc., you make products. You get products. Okay. You use. And these products we market or use. So basically, it is a chain. It is a chain that gets pulled when you do this activity. You have resources, you have water, you have land, you have manpower, you have seeds, you have climate conditions, all of that, resources. Then when you actually use and plant, you get products, vegetables, fruit, grains, etc. Okay? And these grains, then you process them. Either you use them, you market them, or you utilize them, or whatever it is. So this is a chain. In this process of chain, that when you start doing this chain gets pulled. When this chain gets pulled, when you pull a chain, what happens? When you keep pulling, breaks where? Weakling. So next point is weakling. So in this whole resource conversion, to reach your goal, when you start pulling it, it will break something. So you have to see that your opinion, now everything that we are testing is the house. Okay, we have a different house. Should we do this? Should we get this kind of food? Should we buy this? It's a house. Opinion number one. Should I get a motorcycle? Should we get opinion number one, cycle? Bicycle. Opinion number two, motorcycle. Opinion number three, car. Okay? Second, does it test each one of these opinions? In the house, so many people will have opinions. Okay, someone will have this opinion, someone will have that opinion. So each of these opinions will be tested. People tell all of them into matrix and test on all of them. Okay, the weakling, there are three kinds of weakling that we have normally seen when we do this resource conversion. Okay, first is social weakling. Social weakling is because it's because of the attitudes and beliefs that people have. That gets full. People don't want to eat certain things because of certain attitudes, beliefs, human kind of things. So then, there's a social weakling. Second, it may be a financial weakling. Maybe expensive, it's not expensive. Weakling. And the third is a biological weakling. That's also a very important weakling that we need to deal with. Because biological weakling is the time when any biological thing is at its weakest position. When are your plants weakest? Most vulnerable.
When we have extremes of weather.
Okay. Yeah. Her condition is that when the weather is dry, her plants are most vulnerable. My farm is most vulnerable when it has got fruits and grains. All the animals come to it. I have all the wild animals, they all jump on it. Grains, we have monkeys, we have wild boars, we have wild bison, we have, they all come. So my weakling is that. So I need to deal with it at that time, the biological weakling. Okay? Because there's plenty around outside, they won't come when the plants are young. It's not a problem. They come, I have a problem. So what is your social weakling? Your financial weakling? So does your opinion in this weakling, in this very good chain, which one is affected first? So is it addressing your weakling? This is the second part. And the third, the third is, so I can take a little time, the 4 ecosystem processes. Should I do it? Or should I do it? Okay. We will do it with these 4 ecosystem processes. We will write it down here. 4 ecosystem processes. In any system that you run, you cannot do without water. You cannot do without proper nutrition. You cannot do without. Yeah. Okay, let me see. Okay, we cannot do without diversity. Okay, sustainability is not possible without these four things. Sustainability, and finally, when we all are living because we only want to live. That is, water is a very scarce resource. Right? Minerals are limited. It's all finite. Minerals are finite. Water is a finite thing that we deal with. It doesn't increase. But one thing is there which is unlimitedly available to us. That is sunlight. And it is only through harvesting sunlight that this whole system revolves. Sunlight is harvested. To harvest sunlight, you need water, you need nutrition, good soil, and you need plants. The plants are the ones that actually harvest the solar energy. And the more you can keep your land green, the more solar energy you're harvesting, the more richer you become. If you're not able to keep your land green long enough, then that much loss you have. And to keep your land green, you need different varieties of plants. And not just different varieties of plants. We were in Mother Evelyn's garden, farm, and she said about different levels. There are the trees that harvest the sun, the big sun, and below it there are smaller, lesser intensity, and then the ones at the bottom which take it to the lowest intensity. So we are harvesting sunlight at different levels. So harvesting sunlight is the whole game. And to harvest sunlight, we need diverse, different varieties of plants that survive and can thrive in those conditions. Heavy sunlight, less sunlight, less sunlight. And to do that, for the plants to survive and to do that, to harvest energy, you need good water cycle. You need the soil has to have enough water. There has to be good nutrients. So the opinion or the decision that you're taking, is it going to affect these four ecosystem processes? Because on which your whole sustainability lies. Is it becoming clear? So your sustainability lies on making sure that these four things work properly. Water has to happen. You have to have water, good system of water. If you're losing water in a farm, if you're losing water and you're losing soil, it's useless. In India, to grow rice, and all over the world too, the world average is that for every ton of food that we're producing, we are losing how much soil? For every kilo of food that we are producing in the world today, average we are losing about 10 kilos of soil. For every ton of food that we are producing, we are losing 10 tons of soil. So if you are to earn $1, if you are spending $15 or $10, you think it's good business? So that is why farms are failing. Farms are failing because we are losing the very soil which is the very source of our existence. In India, to produce especially in the rice belt, to grow 1 kilo of rice, we are losing 15 kilos of soil. That means 1 ton of rice, we are losing 15 tons of soil in India. This is how bad we are. And then you're thinking, why are farms failing? Okay. So this is one of the biggest causes of failure of farmers. Okay, and then diversity. If you do not have, like for example, if you have a graph, see, everything that you grow, 1 year your production will be very good. next year your production will be low for that. So if you're only growing rice, one day you're up, one day you're down. Next year you're up, next year you're down. But if you're growing different diverse crops, you have trees, you're growing coconuts, you're growing all different varieties of groups. So even though the ups and downs will be there for all these crops, but because they are going up and down at different levels, you eventually level off. Let's show you this. This year production of rice went up. Next year is down. Next year is up again. It will go down again. Up again. Down again. Up again. Like that. Goes up. This is how the production of any crop is. Okay. And if you're only growing rice or one item, then you're going up and up on this. But if you have, say, other crop that you're growing, let's say you're growing coconuts, okay? So coconuts give you a yield, will also go up, down. Okay? So gradually, if you have another crop, so eventually, because of the yield of different varieties that you have, it gradually tables off to a middle level. On the total. So yesterday when we were in Mother Ellen's farm, she was saying diversity is so important. There's diversity. The more diverse you are, the more varieties you are, the more stable you will become. Let's take it from even today's point of view. Okay? If everyone is just doing one thing, how do you think we'll be stable? In a society, if everyone is only, say, making shoes, the whole community is just making shoes, do you think the community is going to be stable? Anything going up and down with that is going to root out everyone. So even in the society, we need diverse systems of, even companies are not diversifying that. Why do we diversify companies? To stabilize all the variations that come in society. So, diversity is also very important. So we need water, solar. We're actually in the business of harvesting solar energy. And to harvest solar energy, we need biodiversity, we need water, and it's supposed to be effective. Only when these four are effective, then will this work. Okay? The next, in our testing matrix, is the best use of it. You can call it the MARG, marginal reaction test, or you can just call it energy test, energy and money test, ENM. As I said, this is the best use of the energy and the money that you have to reach your goals. Okay? And then I said GPA, the gross profit analysis, means what is running the whole thing now? Is it going to disrupt your current running situation? If it is not going to disrupt it, it's good. But it's going to all of a sudden disrupt your current running condition, then it is going to be difficult. Okay, you should. And okay, the last is we also have to keep it in mind when we're taking the decision whether it is in line or how will the society and the culture take to it. There may be reactions to that. Okay, this is going to be okay for the society, culture, it's like the gut feeling, it's okay, it's all going to be okay for the society. Okay. So this is basically the society, culture, and test. So this is how we test every decision. Now these are not the end of the series. You can have more. You can add more to it if you like. But this is a way to test your house. And augment you again and again, we will keep on repeating. It all depends on the quality of life that you live. What is the quality of life you want? short-term or quality of life is very important. With the quality of life, you decide why and what. And the house, you decide this. Normally we have fights everywhere because we are dealing with the house, not the what's the what's. I will end here for now. You can continue. Thank you very much. Sorry.